picture perfect family, like the one seen on TV. How old were you when you realized that's not real? Well, fantasy, our needs, and reality almost seem like virtual realms running parallel of one another. Fantasy, the faculty or activity of imagining things, especially things that are impossible or improbable. As a mental health counselor graduate, I think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And then reality, the world or the state of things as they actually exist, as opposed to an idealistic or notional idea of them. As a child, I recall shows like The Brady Bunch, Full House, The Cosbys, Family Matters, Boy Meets World, and other wholesome family-oriented sitcoms. While these wholesome family-oriented sitcoms illustrated problems and conflicts, their issues seemed lighthearted, tame, tolerable, bearable. I envied the wholesome family dynamic where problems were innocent and remedied with understanding and camaraderie. Don't get me wrong, I have numerous fond memories of family. The kinship I shared with family has bestowed a wealth inside me that postured my faith. These wholesome family-oriented shows protected the audience from the intense feeling of fear, shock, or disgust. Censorship protected the audience from harsh realities found in society. The harsh realities of abuse and violations which cause trauma were not portrayed by these films. It's interesting the correlation between fantasy and reality. Reality depicts an indifferent state to idealism. Fantasy fulfills superficial needs and underlying needs in an artificial world where consequences don't exist. While reality continues, the portal of fantasy does not factor time. Fantasy appears as an alternate universe of perfection and ideal scenarios. We enjoy fantasy over reality because there are no consequences. Mentally transporting to a place where one may exist irresponsibly and consequence-free. A little fantasy is natural, but when fantasy offsets reality significantly and disrupts basic functioning, then fantasy has become delusional. Dysfunction breeds fantasy because fantasy is usually an escape from exposure to abuse and violation. Abuse and violation are forms of dysfunction which impact the desire for fantasy. Some trivial scenarios which instigate fantasy are boredom, loneliness, fear, arousal, hunger, etc. Each adjective is related to basic needs. As a person grows, develops, matures, and our most primitive needs are met, our needs become more complex. Starting from least complex to most complex, there's physiological needs, safety and security needs, love and belonging needs, self-esteem needs, and self-actualization needs. There's my boo and my boo-boo too. Boo-boo too? You my boo-boo too? Yeah. Boo-boo number 2. Physiological needs, basics are breathing, food, water, shelter, clothing, sleep. Safety and security needs are health, employment, property, family, and social ability. Love and belonging needs stem from friendship, family, intimacy, sense of connection. Self-esteem needs deal with confidence, achievement, respect of others. The need to be a unique individual. And self-actualization needs are morality, creativity, spontaneity, acceptance, experience, purpose, meaning, and inner potential. Where's my
Hey.
voice? I found you too. Woohoo! Hi.
Kick your feet, kick your feet.
When there is a conflict in having an ideal or comfortable state of needs met, a person begins to desire. Dependent on the intensity of longing for the need to be met, the person then yearns for the need to be fulfilled. In the meantime, as the need is unfulfilled, the appetite figuratively goes unfed. Unmet needs develop into desires. Unmet desires become fantasy, and an unmet fantasy can develop into delusion. Where you going? Okay, hold mommy. Delusion about the state of individual needs, mentally versus realistically, permits and enables dysfunction. Delusion enables dysfunction because matters are not being addressed, recognized, nor resolved. In the land of make-believe, aka fantasy, aka delusion, there's no need for consideration, but in life we exist in reality. In reality, consideration is necessary and practically a requirement. Today we are accused of overthinking because any thinking or anything done to the point of no longer functioning in accordance to civility is a hindrance. But careful thought, typically over a period of time, is healthy and wise for survival, thriving, and civilization.
De tus blancas manos sentí el calor que con tus caricias me dio amor. ¿Dónde estás ahora, niño país, que nos vale tanto huir de mí? ¿Dónde estás ahora? Quisiera tener.
After mentally considering inadequacies in each hierarchy of needs, a person begins to understand what they're realistically yearning due to the absence of that need not being met. Although a person may crave instant gratification to remedy this intense emotion, the honest truth is the quest is just the beginning. An optimistic perspective views the quest as an adventure and a season in life to explore and enjoyment. There are resources in community to help cope with the journey. Be sure to be careful and discern evidence of safety.
Where mockingbirds used to sing, and there's something more. I miss the one I cared for, more than I miss New Orleans. Oh, if your man is not with us, and
As discussed, there's matters, an affair or situation under consideration. And then you have delusion, a false belief or judgment about external reality, held despite indisputable evidence to the contrary, occurring especially in mental conditions. A delusional mindset enables dysfunction. With too much delusion, you have abuse and violation, which become parameters of a standard. Eventually, fantasy is forced to face reality. Too much fantasy can disrupt healthy functioning in reality. Disassociating from reality and functioning in fantasy can distort one's perception of reality and behave delusional. Resolve being trapped in fantasy by understanding and learning your honest needs and desires. There are a basic hierarchy of needs. Within each need, determine what realistically attracts you and what you are comfortable working toward decently.
All right, he's gonna make me jump here no matter what. Here we go. Here we go. It's cold. All right, Adrian, mommy's going first. She's sacrificing herself. Wow. It's cold. It's cold. Okay, come to mommy. Come to mommy. Come to mommy. Yeah. Better? Okay.
Despite previously envying these wholesome family-oriented sitcoms, I've learned perfection is impossible. There is no perfect family, friend, person, or community. Reality in life has beauty, disaster, and dysfunction. Nevertheless, censorship and standards are careful consideration in monitoring the influence of abuse and violations. Monitoring abuse and violations benefits functioning. This ever-changing existence allows for some fantasy and requires functional consideration to help persons as a whole tolerate reality instead of abandon reality to be non-functional in fantasy. Therefore, addressing, recognizing, and finding resolve for unfulfilled needs helped cope with reality and make my pure-hearted desires come true.
Let's hear it for Kenya! Can we hear it?
for someone